Good morning, ultimate hustlers and digital empire builders. It is that time for the Cortez Hustle Show. And today we've got another Wellness Wednesday for you. We're talking body and business connection with Maja Miller. She's an expert in helping you get your energy back, people, so you can be the best version of yourself. And that equals more productivity in business. That means better husband, better wife, better everything when you get your body right. So I need y'all to do me a huge favor. Comment in the chat where you're from. Drop the name of your business and all your brand. Smash that show button, ladies and gentlemen. And let's kick it this morning. Yo, what's up, ultimate hustlers, and welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show, the business podcast for the entrepreneur of the 21st century. And I'm your host, Cortez Hustle. Our goal is to give you a behind-the-scenes look at how the world's greatest hustlers build amazing brands, scale their businesses to incredible heights, sell more, make more, and create mass movements that impact the world. It doesn't matter if you're a seasoned vet or you're sitting on the sidelines with aspirations to one day unleash your inner hustle. This show will provide the insights into how pure grit, determination, and hard work has morphed into some of the most iconic brands and personalities and how they are moving the culture forward. You'll get a mix of solo shows featuring yours truly, as well as interviews and content from other hustlers that I either know personally or I've learned from or whose grind I've come to know and respect. And you'll also get exclusive recordings from our membership called Monetize My Life Academy, which you can check out at monetizemylifeacademy.com. That's a program where we go live every month with some of the best hustlers on the planet, sharing best practices on how we all can explode our brands with advanced branding and marketing tactics, business development strategies, and financial game planning necessary to build the empires we all desire. Again, that's at monetizemylifeacademy.com. If you like today's episode, chances are the hustlers you're connected to will like it as well. Share it with those in your network. And when you do, use hashtag Cortez Hustle so I can see you and hopefully give you a shout out and share you in my stories. So check out today's episode and make sure you subscribe to the feed on your favorite podcasting networks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show. I am, of course, your host, Cortez Hustle, everybody's favorite fatherpreneur, coming to you live and direct from the Monetize My Life Academy studios right here in St. Louis, Missouri. And today we have another wonder-filled show lined up for you. We got a special guest on this Wellness Wednesday, and this young lady is amazing at helping to transform your body to help transform your hustle. So I can't wait to get into that conversation. A couple quick announcements before we do, though. Some of you guys have been hearing me tease about the Monetize My Life Blueprint. That's right. Some of you guys have intellectual capital that you need to get out into the world, and you have enough time to do it this holiday season. So if you text keyword waiting list to 314-916-3493, you're going to get on the waiting list. And you're going to be the first to get your hands on Monetize My Life Blueprint. We're literally going to show you how to create a digital product from your passion, from your knowledge, from your experience and expertise, just in time for the holiday season, so you can present it to the marketplace and start your nice business fourth quarter of 2022 going into 2023. So text keyword waiting list to 314-916-3493. Also, we got some amazing shows coming up. Tomorrow, we have Extreme Execution with my man, L. David Harris. So make sure y'all come back and hang out with us tomorrow as well. So that's going to do it for my announcements, man. I'm excited to get into this conversation. So again, this young lady is amazing with helping you get a better handle on your physiology and how it impacts every area of your life. But since I'm talking to a bunch of hustlers, she's going to break down how it impacts you in your business. So I'm going to introduce some of you guys and present to others, Miss Maja Miller. Good morning, Maja. How are you doing?
Hey, hey, hey. I'm doing great. We're starting to get a little sunlight in Austin, Texas, so it's a good thing.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Sunlight is a great, great thing. So we've got a lot to get into, Maya, and I really want to let you have the floor this morning. But before we get into who you are, the way we start the Cortez Hustle Show is with a quote of the day. So I'm going to share one of my favorite quotes. It's usually something that I heard that kicked me in the teeth as I got my morning workout and morning routine going. So, but if you have a favorite quote, please feel free to share, or you can chime in on this one. Today's quote says this: as far as I know, or as far as I can judge, not much good can be done without disturbing something or someone. And that is Edward Blake. What do you think about that? You're going to have to ruffle some feathers if you're doing anything of significance.
Amen is what I
Yeah.
think to that. We go through so many evolutions in life,
Hmm.
and really life is a bunch of unspoken contracts with people.
Hmm.
And we're constantly saying, all right, Cortez, you're going to stay the same and you're going to be exactly who you are for me in my life. And then
Hmm.
I'm going to stay the same and I'm going to be, exactly who I am for you in your life. And that's great if both of y'all, if like both of us are stagnant and not improving and not striving. But when you start being better, when you start keeping your promises and agreements, when you start taking actions, oftentimes you find yourself in a different place compared
Hmm.
to your old friends, sometimes a partner, sometimes family. And when they aren't keeping up, there's that big difference, right? And
Hmm.
that's where those feathers can kind of get ruffled. So I totally understand. Sometimes you're able to move through that difference and that change with grace, and sometimes people, you need to let them go with love.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It is one of those things where sometimes it's hard to do, especially when with the people, because sometimes those people were with you in your darkest moments, right? And you feel a little bit of guilt for walking away from them after they helped you through a tough time. But if you're continuing to ascend and they're standing still, then that's going to happen inevitably. So that is the quote of the day right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, the Maya Miller version. So, Maya, I ask everybody who comes on the Cortez Hustle Show this question. So, I'm going to ask it to you. And the question is this: who the heck are you?
Thanks for having me. First of all, I'm super excited to chat with you and your audience. My name's Maja Miller, and today I'm a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. But I started as a hustler. I mean, I'm a first generation immigrant. We moved to the south side of Chicago.
Okay.
My first job was a candy arbitrage business, where I'd buy candy in bulk and resell it at my school.
Hmm.
And so, I've always been a hustler. I still am a hustler,
Yeah.
but I've learned how to redefine what that means for me,
Hmm.
because I think that um, sometimes we have a definition of like what hustle actually means
Yeah.
that maybe doesn't serve us very well. And I know that I've been guilty of that myself.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, that's who I am. I'm a woman in business. I'm a first generation immigrant. We've always trying to do better, always trying to level up in life. Um,
Hmm.
Grew up in Illinois. Uh, I'm a former D1 athlete, and
Okay.
I
Okay.
teach what I need to learn, which is how do you how do you make the best out of like your own body and life in a way where your body is working for you, not against you, where your body
Hmm.
is lifting you up, where it's enabling you to be the best mother, father, business owner, brother, friend that you can be.
Yeah. I love that. Let's go back to first generation immigrant.
Yeah.
Of all the places you could have migrated to, South side of Chicago, what was that like? Coming
I
up as
mean,
little
it
Maya, right?
it was home for me, and
Yeah.
it was home. I didn't. know the difference, and I was just grateful. I mean, I was grateful to be here. I mean, I was 3.5 when I left Poland.
Right.
We were political refugees.
Okay.
It was still a communist country.
Mhm.
We fled and couldn't go back until after the fall of communism. So
Mhm.
there was just an energy in my home of, assimilate, really like learn the language, learn how to operate, learn how to navigate,
Mhm.
um, learn how to navigate in this new country. And that really, it, uh, it required me to be a chameleon. It
Mhm.
required me to have some street smarts at a very young age. And I'm really grateful for all of those experiences because my level of observation is off the charts, and that helps me a lot. Like my spidey sense, went off
Mhm.
when I was a kid when something wasn't up and I needed to get out.
Yeah.
Um, and I use that in my work and my relationships all
Mhm.
the time. So I love me some Chicago.
Yeah, I think you get that when you're in a city that is that fast, you really become quick-witted and you become quick on your feet because that's what the culture is. I mean, everything is moving so fast, and Chicago is so big right now. Now I'm saying Chicago is so big, and you're sitting right now in Texas, but I've been in Chicago and I've been in Texas, and I'm like driving for half an hour, and it's like you're still on the
It's
south
big
side.
in
I'm like,
it's
wait
big
a
in a
minute.
different kind of way. I mean, it's big in a
Yeah,
different kind of way.
yeah.
What you said, you've got to be very observant. You got to be with it. I mean,
Mhm,
one of the concepts that we'll talk about today uh, is a state of a fight or flight, which is
yeah.
like your nervous system always being on,
Mhm,
and
mhm,
um, and that is something that my nervous system was constantly on. I was constantly evaluating, am I safe? What's going on?
mhm. Yeah.
And that wasn't just because of where I lived, but yeah, I mean, this vigilance of like, who's safe? Do you fit in
Mhm,
here?
mhm.
All of that really impacts your body.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you came over and you in school, you started selling candy things. Did you have entrepreneurship in your family? Were your parents going that direction when they came here? Did they start businesses, or is that something you just kind of decided to do on your own?
My mom was a cleaning lady. I mean, she didn't speak the language.
Mhm,
There wasn't a lot of financial support from my biological father, who at
mhm,
the time was still living in the home, but they separated, shortly thereafter.
mhm,
And yeah, I mean, my mother had 3 jobs. I remember waking up pitch black, going to
mhm,
a babysitter. The babysitter would take me to school, and my mom worked until 3 o'clock, at three,
mhm.
4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I had a key around my neck. I was one of those latchkey kids,
Yeah.
where it was like, all right, figure it out, make yourself something to eat. There was a
Mhm,
a bowl. I remember a bowl of change of like quarters and nickels that, like, if I
mhm.
needed something, I would like dig in there. So yeah, I mean, my mom definitely worked very hard,
Yeah.
um, and kind of showed me what I needed to see initially, which is you have to work hard,
Yeah.
and laid the foundation within a generation for me to have a master's degree, play
Mhm.
D1 sports, to have a lot of privilege,
Yeah.
that she didn't have. She made a lot of sacrifices so that, I had opportunities that she couldn't have ever dreamed of. And eventually, they took, my mother remarried, um,
Mhm.
and they had a commercial janitorial business. Then,
Okay.
we ended up moving to Champaign, Illinois, which is just a couple of hours south. They
Mhm.
had, small businesses. They owned, I don't know, at the time, 6, 7 tanning salons in Champaign, Illinois. They had a little
Yeah.
real estate hustle. And so my parents were constantly, leading by example of like, try to better yourself, work hard, support your family, do
Mhm.
good.
Yeah, that's amazing. And those are the types of stories that I like to hear from cleaning lady, right? 3 jobs, doing what I gotta do to make sure that my baby is getting the education and make sure that we're progressing
Yeah.
to owning a cleaning business, right? That's the true art of the hustle. So at
Yeah.
what age did you start playing your sport of choice? And then when did you realize I'm head and shoulders above the rest? If I keep pressing and working at this thing, I could really do something with it.
So my biological father was very good at tennis.
Okay.
And he wasn't like the coolest dude ever, and
Hmm.
tried to get me into tennis when I was very young, too young. And I completely wanted nothing to do with it.
Hmm.
Once he was out of my life, I believe it was eighth grade. It was eighth grade. You know, you get those, it's like the last week of school, and you get to
Hmm.
pick a sport and just kind of go and mess around. Well, I picked tennis.
Yeah.
And I picked up a racket and had like full strokes. And the math teacher used to be the high school tennis teacher, the tennis coach.
Gotcha. Hmm.
So he was like, "Hey, are you trying out for tennis?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not." Um, and he's like, "No, you're trying out for tennis." So
You said that wasn't a question.
yeah. So that summer, he made a couple of introductions for me. That was the first summer that I had any coaching.
Hmm.
And I made varsity my freshman year. We won
Wow.
state my junior and senior year as a team. I placed third my senior year, and I had a Division I scholarship.
Yeah.
So I really put in probably 15 years of work into four
Yeah.
years, excuse me.
Yeah.
So there was, I mean, I worked really hard. I was obsessed with the sport. Didn't feel like
Mhm.
work. It just felt like who I was, and this is what I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. And that DNA and not even realizing that that was in you all of this time, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you pick up a racket
And
and there's
I,
some natural ability there that
I
where did
kick
this come
myself
from?
because I wish I would have started earlier. I wish I would have picked up a racket uh,
Hmm.
when I was 5. But that kind of leads me to one of my favorite quotes, which is, "Everything is mine by the divine, and it
Hmm.
comes to me in perfect order today."
Yeah.
So everything that I want, I already have, whether I realize it or not.
Yeah.
Coming
Yeah.
from this place of abundance, that the divine,
That's right.
whatever faith you may or may not be, that it comes from a greater place, and that
Hmm.
everything that I'm experiencing in this moment, and I've experienced some pretty awful, hard, difficult things, as I'm sure many of your listeners and you have experienced.
Hmm.
Everything is coming in perfect order today. That the thing that I
Yeah.
am dealing with today is the thing that I'm supposed to be kind of experiencing so that I can learn, level up, move on.
Yeah. That's also in alignment with something that I teach all the time is that we have a habit of blaming bad things on the devil or circumstances. And a lot of times, those challenges you bring onto yourself.
Yep.
When you decide that you're going to do something great, it's like, okay, the universe says, I agree with you. You're going to do that great thing. But in order for you to do that great thing, you have to become a greater person. And the
Yep.
only way you can become a greater person is if you go through something.
Yeah.
Right. So the challenge showed up as a result of our dream and aspiration. And most people let that challenge cause them to quit. But if they fight through it, that's the preparation you need to stand on that next level. Right.
Yeah.
So you got to embrace the challenge. Right.
I agree.
So we are at my favorite segment of the show, Maya. We do a segment called 1 Minute Motivation every episode. I'm a huge believer in personal growth and self-development. But what most people don't get, Maya, is that everything you consume contributes to your personal growth and self-development. The question is, are you growing in the right direction? Are you being intentional with it? So we like to be intentional with the personal growth and self-development. So I'm gonna play a short 60-second clip. I ask you to give your takeaways. Those who are watching us live usually comment a couple takeaways as well. So let's get into some 1 minute motivation right here on the Cortez Hustle Show.
This is not me. What it takes to survive and what it takes to live, those are two totally different things. And you got to be willing to work for that. A lot of people are afraid of that 4-letter word. willingness, W, the willingness to do the things today others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have. O, ownership of your life, taking full responsibility for where you are. George Bernard Shaw said that people that make it in his life, they look around for the circumstances they want, and if they can't find them, they create them. The R stands for willingness to reinvent yourself. To that in order for a man to gain his life, he must lose his life. So you've got to be willing to die to who you are now, to give birth to who you are to become. And the K stands for kindred spirits. You've got to come out from among people who don't have goals, who don't have dreams. People rub off on you. You earn within $2,000 to $3,000 of your closest friends. Academy Award winner Sidney Poitier said, when you go for a walk with someone, something happens without being spoken. Either you adjust to their pace or they adjust to your pace. Whose pace have you adjusted to?
Ooh, Maya, what a question, right? Whose pace have you adjusted to in this thing we call life? I love doing that segment just in general, but the reason I really love to do it when I have a guest is because we all just listen to the same clip, but based on where we are in life, we all heard something very different. So what did you hear, my friend?
I agree with everything that he said, and there's another level above that. And I think that oftentimes we get very tied up in the grind, the work, the hustle, and we think that we have to work hard in order to have the things that we want to have in life. And what if having the money or the family, or what if you didn't have to work that hard? And what I mean is, yes, there's a stage where you have to be willing to surround yourself, but you don't have to turn yourself inside out. The people that make the most money aren't like grinding and turning themselves inside out and, destroying their bodies and not sleeping. Many of the, multiple 8-9 figure entrepreneurs that I know, a lot of their money comes in while they're sleeping. It's automated. It took some work to get there, but what if you didn't have to learn lessons that were hard? What if you were able to find a level of flow and a level of ease? I mentioned to you this morning that this morning was the first time I used an alarm clock. I wake up naturally. I let my body tell me when to wake up, and I protect my mornings. And that I find a level of flow and a level of ease. And so I think that I agree with all of the things that he has to say. I feel like you have to go through that stage of like the grind and the hustle. But oftentimes what I find with myself and my clients is that they are now in a place where they're no longer capable of, like, what got you here isn't going to get you there. So the grind and the hustle got you here. We needed that. But if you want to level up, if you want to make money in your sleep, if you want to get past probably some of those subconscious seeds that were planted in your head as a child, which is, money doesn't grow on trees. If you want to work, if you want something, you got to work hard, these are things that are given to us and oftentimes given to our family members. We're operating from a place of scarcity versus a place of everything is mine. I already have it. It's already there. It's like you're standing in a field of like flowers, but you don't even see them, right? And you're sitting there saying, I want more flowers in my life. And you're like in the most amazing, beautiful meadow in the mountains. And so, yes, I agree with all of that. That is one chapter, one phase of evolution, of self-development, of leveling up. And it allows you to kind of unlock that next level, which is, what if it was easy? What if everything in my life was easy?
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's the whole point. When you understand why the hustle, like I'm hustling my way out of a job, I'm hustling my way out of work, right? That's what the intention is. And I think sometimes we do go hustle and think that I'm supposed to keep this hustle up 40 years. I had a mentor tell me one time, he said, Maya, Cortez, if you work hard for every dollar you earn, that's a sign that you're financially illiterate. I said, wait a minute, what? I'm not supposed to work hard for my money? He said, listen to the question. If you work hard for every dollar you get, that's a sign you're financially illiterate.
Yes.
You're going to have to work hard for some of the dollars, but
Yes.
then you have to put those dollars to work for you. You
Yes.
can't sustain that for 40 years. And a lot of people are finding that out, unfortunately, after the 40 years, right? After body is broken down, stress has eaten away our life. Now we're using our retirement to try to restore our health because we had it backwards. No, we just need to hustle for 5, 7 years.
Yes.
Bring in that seed capital. Most of us see our money as the harvest. No, the money is the seed. Then you plant those seeds so that they bring you more money. So appreciate your insight there. That was 1 Minute Motivation right here on the Cortez Hustle Show. The Maja Miller version, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into exactly what it is that she does, but you can also go to majamiller.com and take a free assessment, if you will, to see where you stack up in terms of your physiology, your body, your energy needs, and really start to go down the path of understanding who you are and how to best put your body to work for you. So, Maja, we kind of got through the early stages, right? First generation immigrant, mom worked really hard and ultimately became an entrepreneur herself. You started as a candy arbitrage agent, right? Selling candy, buying wholesale, selling retail. Ultimately, you found a passion for tennis, and boom, that got you a D1 scholarship, got to school, got a master's. And then you got out of school, and what was corporate like for Maja coming out of school and going into that world, or did you go straight into entrepreneurship?
No, I worked in corporate America. So I worked for 2 years after undergrad, and then I went back to Illinois and got my MBA. Graduated and was accepted to a leadership development program for a Fortune 5 company. Was the youngest director. Was the youngest director there.
Mm.
I don't know if that would still be the case. I'm sure there was some young whippersnapper that, but you have to remember, I finished business school when I was 24 years old. So
Okay.
I was very young.
Wow.
And then I hustled. I traveled, I ended up living in Chicago again for a year and then San Antonio for a few months. And then I moved to Los Angeles. So a lot of moving around,
Mhm.
picking up your entire life. And then I was traveling a lot, 60, 70, 80% of the time. I felt very disconnected from family and friends.
Mhm.
I was having a lot of anxiety. I was having some depression. I was having insane digestion issues.
Mhm.
So there was a lot of health things that were happening, for me. At this
Yeah.
point, I'm probably in my late 30s.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, like late 20s, early
Mhm.
30s.
Yeah.
And I had moments where I was so sick. I'd be like driving down PCH and I would have thoughts like I could just drive my car off onto the ocean and nobody would know. Or I would like be going
Mhm.
for a run and I would be tying my shoes and I would have this like little whisper of like, is there all there is in life? And
Mhm.
my doctor is giving me one pill for anxiety, trying to give me another pill for depression, trying to give me another pill for the digestion issues, and none of it helped.
Mhm.
I would have been happy to take the pills if they were helping me, but they weren't.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so that's where I really dug into functional medicine, functional nutrition, a holistic
Mhm.
approach to the body. And that is where I learned that the United States is probably one of the worst places to live from a health and wellness perspective, that our bodies are literally being pillaged by big corporate entities,
Yeah.
and that there is a completely different way to live out there. And so I'm so grateful for all of the challenges that I went through, because it ended up being a huge opportunity where it was like, okay, cool. Like, you can keep feeling like crap, and you can keep, wanting to drive your car off into, like, the Pacific Ocean,
Mhm.
or you can take the circumstances that you have in your life and you can, rise above, which is what I did.
I love it. One of my biggest pet peeves in life is when people complain about the things they have the power to change,
Yeah.
right? I often say, you either do or you don't do, but don't not do and complain about it, right? Like you took the bull by the horn, so to speak, and said, listen, here's where I am, not only just in your particular life, but I'm also in a country that is really not for people trying to get healthy or not for people trying to get healed, right?
Yeah.
We are all about, you will treat you to death, literally, right? So we got the treatments for you, but we ain't trying to heal you. But
Yeah,
you said,
we have
okay,
sick care in this country. We do not have health care in this country.
yes,
And
yes.
it was at that moment where, once I started learning about the tax structures,
Mhm,
like the things that are taxed, just some of the political structures that are happening, I was
mhm.
like, man, we don't even have a chance. You don't even have a chance to be healthy in this country.
Yeah.
And that's where I decided to quit my six-figure job at a Fortune
Mhm,
5 company. I was on the officer path.
mhm,
I packed up my car, drove it across country to Austin, Texas, and
mhm.
I decided to open up a boutique fitness brand in Austin,
Yeah.
Texas, and did that for the better part of almost 10 years.
Mhm.
Ended up that in and of itself, I thought being an entrepreneur is going to kind of help me get healthy and well. The exact opposite happened. So I got worse before I got better.
Yeah.
Um, but again, during that journey, um,
Mhm,
launched a nutrition program. I had a couple of Pilates studios. We
mhm.
designed and engineered and manufactured our own Pilates reformer, had our own teacher training program, patents, the whole thing.
Right.
And I noticed that a lot of my clients, um, even though they were working out very hard at my studio, I
Mhm.
saw them working out.
Yeah.
They couldn't sleep, had anxiety, had to, like, it was just like, oh, this is familiar. Like, I've read this book, watched this movie.
Yeah.
So I created this, it was called the Inside Out Protocol,
Mhm.
and I created it was a transformation program, um, and uh, and it went nuts. Like,
Yeah.
I was generating $20,000 to $40,000 a month just in this, like, virtual program.
Mm.
Um,
Love it.
and when I decided to shut my business down in 2019, it was so that I can focus on really healing also,
Mhm.
and then also really focusing on the nutrition kind of lifestyle component, because
Yeah.
that's where you get, like, the more bang for your buck. I ended up going back to school,
Mhm.
because during my time in this nutrition program, I would say things like, I'm not a doctor and I can't diagnose or treat disease, but
Mhm.
this seems very familiar to Hashimoto's or thyroid, or
Mhm.
I learned so much about autoimmune disease in the body.
Yeah.
You should ask your doctor to run these 3 labs. And
Mhm.
most of the time, these are mostly women that I worked with, but they came back and said, either my doctor said no and refused to run these labs, which is
Mhm.
egregious, that would piss me off,
Yeah.
or they said they ran the labs and said everything's normal, everything's in range. So it was either, oh, this is just you're a mom or you're an entrepreneur. All moms, all entrepreneurs are tired. And I'm like, no, they sure are not. Tony Robbins isn't like having diarrhea 4 times a day, not being able to sleep or you know what I mean? Like, Gabrielle Bernstein, like she isn't having these issues. Like the entrepreneurs that I know and the business people that I know, like feel amazing, right? So it was this line of BS that's being like spewed out by this sick care model. So that pissed me off, and I ended up going back to school, and now I'm able to run my own labs for my own clients. And use functional ranges to explain their symptoms, because there's no such thing as normal diarrhea or normal insomnia or normal obesity or normal anxiety. There is that is not how how our bodies were made, right?
Because the curve keeps moving, right? The more obese the entire country gets, then of course that range keeps moving. Well, the average person is this. No, don't compare me to the average person in America, because everybody's sick. Compare me to the average healthy person.
I love that you said that, Cortez, because what most people don't understand, there's a handful of diagnostic companies in this country. CPL, Quest are kind of the 2 main ones, where you go, they draw your blood, your doctor gets a lab report, and then there's ranges next to the lab report. And the ranges are a statistical average of all of the people that have taken the lab. When's the last time you've gone to the doctor when you were feeling amazing? Like, man, I feel like $1 million. Time to go to the doctor. No, you go to the doctor when you don't feel well. So what we are taking is a statistical average of a population of people that are feeling worse.
They feel sick.
And what I want to know, and this is what I do with my clients, which is I'm going to compare you to what is optimal, not to what is average, because who wants to be average in their lives? Like, not this girl. And so what most people don't understand is that these functional ranges do not tell you, you could be well within a functional or well within a clinical range and still have symptoms. And oftentimes symptoms are around for 5, 10, 15, 20 years before you get clinical. And the model now is, well, there's really not much that I can do until you get cancer, until you get autoimmune disease, until you have, clinical depression or bipolar, like whatever it is. And so for me, I'm catching folks, on average, my clients see 12 doctors who have told them that everything is normal and fine. And then I run my labs and I'm like, here's what's going on with digestion. Here's what's going on with heart. Here's what's going on with hormones. Here's what's going on with minerals. And I paint this picture of what's happening in the entire body. And then we create a tailored bio-individual plan to reverse your symptoms. And I don't need to be a doctor in order to be able to do that.
I love that, because once you see what's really going on, and if we know that certain nutrients have this effect, but we got to the bottom of what's really going on, we're not guessing. Like, my wife is going through some stuff right now, and she's like, they're telling me the exact same thing that I can see myself on WebMD or something like that. Like, I know that they're just guessing, and I'm like, that's kind of the model. Or they're telling you, if you're a doctor and you've got 7 minutes to see a patient, you're going in and you're just saying boom, 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 very cookie cutter, very routine. It's like there's nothing to alarm me. But to your point, what alarms you is when it's irreversible, right? Instead of saying, hey, this is just a little bit out of whack, you might want to make this adjustment in your lifestyle. And that's what I kind of want to transition to, because we also have these lifestyles that are constantly pushed into our face, either overtly or covertly, that have us living a certain way that is literally killing us. You talked about you had to go into a lifestyle change, and that's what you're bringing to your break that down for us a little bit. What do you mean when you're talking about lifestyle change, and how many different components are you looking at to make micro adjustments to bring one into wholeness?
So I have a kind of a mnemonic device that I use with my clients, and I work a lot with women. I also
Mhm.
work with men, but I feel
I
like
know what you're saying. You're just saying, Cortez, I'm not, this is not your program.
no,
Okay, I get it.
no.
No, I get
Well,
it. I'm gonna tell my wife.
you're gonna be down with it, right? Because
All
you're a
right.
modern man, but it's my little black dress, right? Like a little
Mhm.
black dress, or like men have like a suit or their
Mhm.
version of a little black dress, and I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe it's a little black dress. Like I'm not here to judge, but it's like the thing that you put on that, like in a snap, like you've got a meeting and you in 15 minutes, like you're like
Mhm.
looking good, feeling good.
Yeah.
So the acronym is MYDRESS, MYDRESS.
Mhm.
And this is you were talking about your blueprint. This is
Mhm.
my blueprint. And so
Gotcha.
my MY stands for my identity. This is
Mhm.
where everything starts. You have to have the identity of a healthy person before you can start taking the actions of a healthy person. How many
Mhm.
of your listeners, have been acting a fool over the holidays, eating whatever, drinking whatever, not
Mhm.
working out, not moving their bodies, going to parties, like burning the candle at both ends during the holidays. And then, in the new year, they say, my diet starts tomorrow. And
Mhm.
then it goes well, for maybe a day, a two, a week. Inevitably, something happens. They get stressed out at work, their partner's being a jerk. And instead of going home and eating the food that they prepped, they're
Mhm.
cruising through the McDonald's drive-through. And in
Yeah.
that moment, they say F it, right? They have an
Yeah.
F it moment,
Yeah.
and they do not keep their promise and agreement. Then they beat themselves up for
Mhm.
weeks, months, years, until that cycle comes to an end and they say, my diet starts tomorrow. This
Mhm.
is, I call it the effort cycle. It has everything to do with how you identify as a person.
Mhm.
You can only do what you are. If you do not have the identity of a healthy person, you are not going to be able to act like a healthy person.
Yeah.
You were saying that the Cortez Hustle Show has been around for close to 2 years or over 2 years.
Mhm.
That is because you identify, right, as
Yeah.
an entrepreneur. Well, being an entrepreneur means you need to be consistent.
Mhm.
And that means
Mhm.
that you have 2 years worth of episodes that I could go listen to. So
Mhm.
everything in my practice starts with, who do I need to be, right? And I
Yeah.
think a lot of other practitioners will say, you need to do this. You need to change your diet. You need to take these supplements. You need, like, all the action things.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, it's be, do, have.
Yeah.
Who do I need to be so that I
Mhm.
can do what I need to do, the
Mhm.
supplements, things, right? So that I
Yep.
can have a healthy body, and
Yeah.
so I can have a healthy business, so I can have a healthy, relationship with my family. So my identity is the foundation of everything that I do. And then
Yeah.
once we can kind of help you re-identify as a healthy person, that allows you, right? So what does it
Mhm.
mean? I do this exercise of 5 identity adjectives, right? So if you want to
Mhm.
have a healthy body, like, what are some of the things that you need to do? Well, I need to change, my food. I need to sleep. I need to do, okay, who do you need to be in order to do all those things? I need to
Yeah.
be consistent. I need to be persistent. I need to be kind. I need to stop being an asshole to myself, right? How
Mhm.
many times have
Mhm.
we eaten the thing and like beaten ourselves up, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so who do you need to be in order to do the things that you need to do? Then once you kind of have an understanding of who you need to be, I need to be consistent, persistent, kind, loving. Then what are the things that you need to do? And these are the 5 tools that I use. It's
Mhm.
delicious food, that's the
Mhm.
D. R, rest.
Mhm.
Energy, you're like a battery. Energy in, energy out.
Mhm.
The first S is stress reduction. And
Mhm.
stress, there's 3 components to stress: physical, biochemical, and emotional stress. And then the
Mhm.
last S is smart supplementation. Most of my clients are in a massive hole and they need micronutrients.
Yeah.
Micronutrients are, your vitamins, your minerals, your amino acids, your essential fatty acids. They need those in order for our cells to work at a cellular level. And so we need to like pour into them. It's not
Mhm.
forever, but So that's my blueprint, right? Like
Yeah.
my dress, I need to be have the identity of a healthy person. And then I need to focus on delicious food, rest, energy, stress reduction, and smart supplementation. And here's the thing, Cortez, 90 to 95% of all diseases out there, every single disease is environmental. Only about
Yeah.
5, maybe 10% of diseases out there are genetic. And even if you have a dirty gene, there's an awesome book called Dirty Genes by Dr. Ben Lynch. Even if you have the gene for autoimmune disease, like I have Hashimoto's, it's a thyroid autoimmune disease. You have to have an environmental exposure, a stressor to flip that gene on, right? And so I don't need to be a doctor in order to work with those 6 tools, the My Dress acronym. So that's the blueprint. But what I do is I take the labs, and the labs typically, I spend about 10 to 14 hours with between 4 to 6 labs, depending on the person. And I paint this picture, and it allows me to figure out what do we do? What order do we do it in? How long do we do it before we move on? So yes, moving your body is part of the My Dress protocol. But if you are in late stage, adrenal dysfunction, doing a HIIT workout is actually going to hurt you, not help you.
Wow.
And so the labs will tell me this. And, a lot of what we hear in working out is no pain, no gain, right? If you're not dying at the end of a workout, it wasn't worth it. Well, that may be appropriate for somebody that is metabolically healthy, but very inappropriate for somebody that is metabolically sick. So that's the blueprint that I work with. It's not complicated, but it's very powerful.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That Be Do Have is something that we subscribe to, myself as well. I heard a coach one time say that before you can become a 7-figure entrepreneur, you got to become a 7-figure human being.
Yep.
Right. And that's kind of what I hear you saying is, if you can identify with who you need to be first, you're then going to be able to consistently do the things that need to be done to create that transformation. And most people are trying to jump right to the do. I just need to do this, instead of the person they need to become.
The being, the identity, who you are at a conscious and subconscious level is the gas in the car. And then the car gets you to your final destination. So the being is the gas. The doing is driving the car, but you can't drive the car without the gas. Like you're not going to go on a road trip with, you could have a brand new, like super awesome car, all the snacks, playlist, but if there's no gas in that car, you're not driving anywhere. And then the destination is the having all the things that you want to have. And it's interesting because, the human brain, about 90 to 95% of all of the brain processes that happen in the brain happen in the structural area of the subconscious brain, where you're not even aware of it. So a lot of this is subconscious programming that we need to kind of get rid of. You've got this old software, and once something is kind of seeded into your subconscious will go to great lengths to make sure that belief is true. And so oftentimes, like, it takes some time to reprogram subconscious. And that's the identity piece of it. So I have a tool around integrity. So identity, integrity, and action. Those are the 3 things that you kind of need in order to transform your body from the inside out. You need to have the identity of a healthy person, but that doesn't happen overnight. You don't just flip the switch sometimes. Sometimes it's more difficult for people. And so integrity, kind of that second piece of things, is the stopgap. And for me, integrity isn't whether or not you're a good human, whether you have good values. It's simply whether or not you keep your promises and agreements. If you take a look at the integrity of a submarine, right? Like that, it's whole. It's whether or not I'm keeping my promises and agreements. And that way of being, to be in integrity, is kind of that stopgap, which is like, okay, maybe you don't quite believe that you're a healthy person yet, but you told me and you told yourself that you were going to prep food, and I'm going to ask you to keep your promises and agreements. When you are in integrity, it is inevitable that you will always be in action, and an object in motion stays in motion.
Yeah.
And so that gives me a little bit of time to help reprogram some of the garbage that's been dumped into your subconscious. And the way that our brains develop is, I believe it's when you're, maybe 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, you actually have no filter, and anything that you hear or see is automatically implanted into your subconscious, which is where all of that generational trauma, the generational baggage gets dumped into our brains. This isn't even our bag.
Yeah.
It was given to us by very well-meaning mothers, fathers, aunties, brothers, friends, strangers, you know what I mean? And so it's up to us to kind of have an awareness about all of this. And it is what it is. It may be hard to change, but it's either change or die.
Yeah.
Literally, for a lot of my clients, change or die.
Yeah, I love that. And it can't get any more black and white than that, right?
Nope.
Change or die. So we are at my second favorite segment of the show, my segment that I call freestyle, because you landed in the south side of Chicago. So that lets me know that you got bars, right? You gonna drop some lyrics
I
on
think
us.
I've got more grooves than I have bars. Like, I think I can dance better than I can like spit rhymes, but
Gotcha. Well, freestyle isn't about rhyming. I'm not going to ask you to bust a rap for us, drop 16 bars, but it is, as I'm building this multi-billion-dollar international media conglomerate, starting with this podcast, I realize that this is not my thing. I don't always ask the right questions. We don't always evolve the conversations to where they should go. But I want to give you the room to either reiterate something that is really important, or we didn't get to talk about something that is important. I want to give you 2 minutes to kind of do that right now. So this is freestyle right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, the Maja Miller version. Hit them with your best bar, sis.
So, I always like to leave with, I think that our brains remember things in threes, and I'm just going to reiterate the single most important thing that you have is your identity, who you are being. And so identity is the single most important thing that you need to have. And people that have the identity of a healthy person, a healthy business person, have integrity. So that is like kind of like the first trait of a first identity trait of healthy people, is that they have integrity. And simply that means I keep my promises and agreements. I do what I say I was going to do. And when we are in integrity, we are able to take action, because what got you here isn't going to get you there. And so if you want to have a healthy business, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 figure business, whatever, if you want to have a healthy family, if you want to have a healthy body, you have to take new actions. If you want new results, you need to take new actions. And so identity, integrity, and action are the things that are really important. And the first exercise I do with all of my clients, and your listeners can do this, right, is you can write down, right? Well, what do I want to have? Write down the list of all the things. Okay. What do you need to do in order to have all those things? Write down that list of things. And then write down 5 identity adjectives. Who do I need to be in order to do all of those things so that I can have all of those things? Most people aren't going far enough upstream. They simply start with the doing. Okay, but you're only able to do something for a very short amount of time if you don't have the identity of consistency, persistency, kindness, like all of these things. So those 5 identity adjectives are really important. Write one on a Post-it note and put them all over, put them up, put them by your house, put them in your car, put them in front of the toilet where you sit in the morning, right, to go to the bathroom in the morning. And use those things as a reminder. And then when you find yourself having one of those F it moments, right? Where you have an opportunity to either keep your promise and agreement to yourself or kind of go off the beaten path, right? And while out, ask yourself, is this the behavior of a persistent person? Is this the behavior of a consistent person? Now, sometimes you might eat the thing or skip the workout. That I'm not saying you're going to be perfect forever, but at least you're being conscious in your decision versus this like subconscious effort moment where you don't even think about what you're eating, what you're doing, what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I think that concept is so important, and that's where I wanted to reiterate.
Boom, drop the mic, bars right here on the Cortez Healthy Show. That was amazing, and this was an amazing conversation.
Thank you.
I
Same.
know we are just scratching the surface, and you guys need to get more of Maja Miller in your life. I'm telling you, because we didn't even go in depth into the epigenetics, which you talked about, the environments that trigger the genes and all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
The fact that we have a pharmaceutical system that advertises commercials and tell you what to go ask, which drug to go ask your doctor for. You guys realize they don't do this in any other countries around the world. That only happens here. Like,
Here in New Zealand are the only two countries in the world where they allow direct-to-consumer advertising. The pharmaceutical model is also the only model that has zero liability for the products that they put out when it comes to certain products.
Yeah.
So yes, the environment is very difficult. I mean, and I'm right now, if you go to the environmental working group and look at water, you can put in your zip code and it'll tell you how many things are in your water. And like, I'm not talking, I don't live in Flint, Michigan, right? Like, let's be clear. Like, I don't live in like an awful city when it comes to water quality. And I had 12 cancer causing agents in my water. So it's like basic stuff. I'm talking about, a significant portion of the US population lives in a food desert where they don't have access to like fresh food. They have access to 7-Eleven, a Dairy Queen, and a bunch of other garbage that isn't even food. And so, yes, like this is the environment, but the reality is it's our environment. And what are we going to do about it? How are we going to get educated? Who are we going to be? What actions are we going to take? So we could go, I could go, we could go.
I could tell like this is my jam, right? This is why we do Wellness Wednesdays, because like, and we didn't even get into the fact that all of the pharmaceutical companies also double as the food additive companies, because they know what additives to put into the foods that will make you addicted. It goes on and on and on forever, and we just gotta cut it off right here. But Maja, before we go, really quickly, we got 2 minutes. Tell everybody how they can connect with you, your social handles, websites, or whatever you got going on.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people that's like really hard to get a hold of. You can message me on Facebook, Maja Miller, MajaMiller. You can go to majamiller.com. If you are specifically interested in kind of running labs and kind of my deep one-on-one work, which is the only way that I work now, I've kind of like, put a pin in a lot of my group programs. Just because I feel so passionate about bio-individuality and creating tailored protocols. Like I am allergic to cookie cutter programs. Then you can go to iopnextlevel.com. So iopnextlevel.com. There's it'll tell you a little bit about the program, the Next Level program. And you can fill out just a quick kind of like a info form, just so that I know what's going on, and you can set up some time to talk to me. I like to be, really accessible, or you can email me, Maja@majamiller.com. So I'm easy to find, y'all.
Gotcha. So I'm putting that link in the comments as well. So again, amazing conversation. So glad that we were able to connect and hook up. That's going to do it for us, y'all. I told you we had some fire for you today, and Maja delivered. So I appreciate you guys all tuning in. Maja, if you can hang out for just one quick sec. Until we talk to you next time, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to get your money up, because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you. Now hustle up. But you've got to overcome fear if you're going to win.
You're tuned into the Cortez Hustle Show. Please like and subscribe.